Hi everybody, I'm Hafiz, an English tutor from HZad Education. Now for this video, I'm going to talk about IELTS Speaking Task 2, especially for those who are just beginners or have recently just started practicing for IELTS. Now for Task 2 specifically, it's personally for me the most challenging one out of the three sections that you get from IELTS Speaking. So you do need to have a good understanding of the things that you need to do and how to prepare for your answer in the best way. So I already have a sample question right in front of me, and we're actually going to do the question together from the planning all the way to the execution. And just a reminder for IELTS Task 2 speaking, you do get 1 minute of preparation time. Now, you might think that's quite long, that's actually quite good. But it's not as simple as you think, because while I have a question here that seems quite easy, in the real test, you cannot predict. You might get that kind of question, like as easy as that. I've seen questions that are quite surprising, in fact, shocking. So, questions that ask you about things that you have either never thought about in your life or things that you don't know anything about. I'm going to ensure that once you finish this video, you actually have a good enough knowledge to, at the very least, mitigate any type of questions when it comes to the second task. All right, so let's do this. Now, in the sample question, I pick an easy one so that you guys can see the fundamentals and the thought process behind it. And this can be applied to any types of questions for task two, right? Whatever the topic is. All right, so the first thing first, of course, you have to answer it. Sorry, you have to read the entire thing and make sure that you understand every single point. Here we are asked to describe a present you have given someone. You should say who you gave it to, what kind of present it was, how it compared to other presents you have given, and explain why you decided to give this particular gift. Now, for me personally, I would follow the same structure that you get on the prompt. So, for example, the first question is describe a present. So, immediately, the first thing that you need to do, of course, identify the main item or object that you are being asked to describe, and then come up with something easy to describe. And I do mention this a lot as well in my previous video. Don't force yourself to tell the truth, right? When you see this type of question, your mind might go, "All right, let me think. What present did I get last year?" You don't need to do that. Just come up with anything that you feel is very simple to describe, but not too simple that you quickly ran out of ideas for it. So, for example, describe a present. Yeah, I'm just gonna choose like a mobile phone. Right? Mobile phones. I'm just gonna write it like that. So mobile phones. Why? I feel that's an easy thing to describe, right? Like as a present, it's very valuable and you can do a lot of things with it and it means a lot to anyone who gets it, and to anyone who gives those kind of present, they probably had a lot of thought about it, right? And also value the person that they're giving it to. So there's a lot of things that I can talk about when it comes to having a mobile phone as a gift. I can specify as much as necessary, right? I might go for an S10. That's good. Let's use that, like an S10, right? This is a good phone. Now, did I get that actually anyway, anytime? No, I did not. So, but in my mind, I can clearly see how easy that is to describe, right? Because I can make up anything about that moment when I receive it, right? Or sorry, when I gave it to someone, and I can also come up with a very good reason or a very strong reason of why I gave that to someone. All right. So after you have identified the main item that you want to describe, move on to the next question. So this is all happening in that 1 minute of preparation time. Who you gave it to. Now, of course, similarly with the first part, you just come up with the easiest person that you can think of. For me personally, I'm gonna go with my dad, right? There's a lot of connection that I can say about that, lots of stories that I can talk about. So I shouldn't be stuck talking about giving a gift to my dad. What kind of present it was, right? So this is similarly, of course, to the present being described. So in this case, I'm gonna go with Mobile S10. Now here you can kind of add a little bit more details to it. What kind of present it was? Maybe you kind of say something about birthdays, or dad's day. What was it? Yeah, dad Father's Day. Sorry, Dad's Day, Father's Day, right? Uh, Birthday, Father's Day, etc. And then lastly, how it compared to other presents you have given. Now, of course, since I've picked probably the most valuable one, then that's what I'm going to talk about, right? Like how it is the most valuable present I have ever given. So for the last question, and you usually get this kind of question where you're asked to compare, right? How does this compare to something else, or which one do you prefer? So it's better that you have an answer that is either at the end of the spectrum or in the beginning of the spectrum. So each sides of the spectrum. Do not pick something or a topic that might be about in the middle, because you will have a hard time explaining that when a question like this pops up. So if I say a present that talks about maybe to a friend in general, like it's not an important gift, nor is it a gift that I don't really care about. It's just like so normal, And then how it compared to other presents you have given, I'm just gonna be repeating myself, right? When I talk about what kind of present it was, I would probably already said it there. I would have probably said, well, it's just a present that's quite typical and not that special, just a simple notebook. And then when you get asked how it compared to other presents you have given, you go like, compared to other present, it's not that important, because it's just something typical. Oh, there you go. You repeated the same thing, right? So please make sure that you do have enough room to differentiate your answer for each prompt. Okay. And then lastly, explain why you decided to give this particular gift. All you have to do is just continue expanding, right? Now, do note that you do not have to have separate body answer for each prompt. They can be combined. So as long as you answer all questions. So don't do this. Like first you say who you gave it to. Like, oh, I gave it to my dad, right? And the kind of present it was this. You don't have to do that. You can combine those two. Okay, so I gave a present, Samsung S10, to my dad for his birthday. So you combine that in one sentence. That's completely fine, right? Remember, cohesion is one of the criteria. So you do not want having to have like broken sentences, or like every time you move on to a different topic, or even worse, you ended up repeating something that you have said before. That's one of the biggest challenge for this task as well, not to repeat yourself when you try to transition to another question, right? And that's also a mistake that I've seen a lot among my students as well. So this is where you have to start planning very carefully, right? And then you do have 2 minutes to speak. Now it's better for you to speak more than less. So try to speak as much as possible. But again, without repeating yourself, without basically going around in circles, right? And try not to speak less than 1 minute. I don't recommend that at all. Try to speak as close as possible to 2 minutes, right? And then now that you have your understanding, your substance planned out, it's time for you to start executing your answer. And your answer could sound as simple as this. One of the most memorable gifts that I have ever given to anyone was the Samsung S10, which I gave to my dad for his birthday. It was probably the most expensive gift that I have ever bought for anyone, but it was completely worth it because my dad is someone whom I really respect, someone who has worked very hard for the family, yet barely look after himself. And so when his birthday was coming up, I was thinking of getting him a nice clothes, but then I saw how he has a lot of work related to emails and calls, etc. So I was thinking, why not just buy him a gadget at that time? And in addition to that, I also noticed that his phone wasn't that high tech back then, and it just convinced me a lot more to buy a high end gadget. So I decided to go for the S10. It's quite advanced. You can do a lot of emails and do a lot of data collecting, analysis, etc. Anything that you can imagine a business person or a manager need to do, you can do it on that phone. And I feel that was really suitable for my dad. And yes, the price was an issue back then, but I said to myself, my dad has never bought himself anything nice for a very long time, but continuously provide things that are, very convenient for the family. And so I felt like he did deserve it, and I never regretted buying an expensive gift like that, not especially for my dad. So compared to other gifts, as expensive as it was definitely worth every penny to get him that phone. And there you have it. That's a sample of the answer. And that was just below 2 minutes, but it was above 1 minute 40 seconds. And so if you rewind my answer, you can kind of see where I expand things. I describe a little bit about the phone. I describe how valuable it meant to my dad and the reason why I really push for an expensive gift like that. So that's the kind of answer that you need to be able to provide for this task. All right, guys, hopefully that helps you comprehend a lot better IELTS speaking task 2. If you have any question, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you want more materials, more lessons on IELTS, please feel free to check out the link in the description below, because in HZad education, we do have tons of courses that will help you achieve a high band on that test. That's my time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.